Good afternoon, Rebecca. We're here this afternoon to facilitate your individual training program of how to pot a bare-rooted rose. Thank you for coming and participating.
No problem.
By the end of the by the end of the training, you will be able to pot a bare-rooted rose. We have a couple of housekeeping items. Please turn off your mobile phone, put it on vibrate or on silent.
I will do that right now.
Toilets are to your right down the hall to the room door that has toilets sign on it, and also hand washing facilities are available as well. As we're outside, please ensure that you have sunscreen on and a hat to guard against sun exposure. And please follow the evacuation procedures of your family daycare service. Okay, let's begin. This is what we're here today to learn how to pot up. This is a bare-rooted rose. These have been grown for a number of years and years, and they're quite easy to put to pot. This is the roots, and this here is the grafted node where it's been grafted from one plant to another. And this needs to be sitting on top of your potting mix when we actually go to pot it up. First step that we do is that we apply gravel to the bottom of your pot.
Okay. What type of gravel?
This type of gravel is quite sufficient. You probably only need that much.
Cover the whole of the bottom.
To cover the bottom.
Yep.
As it provides drainage for the rose once you have already potted it up.
Okay.
Okay. Some other plants you can use larger gravel.
Yep.
But for roses, the small type is sufficient.
They're not big ones.
No, you only need to cover the bottom of the pot. You don't
Yep.
need it a certain depth. It's just there for drainage purposes.
Okay.
For your rose.
Yep.
Now the next step is to put the potting mix in.
Mhm.
So
Normal potting mix.
it is best to use a rose potting mix,
Right.
as that will give you the best results
Okay.
in the end. Also, with the potting mix, make sure that it is to the Australian standards, because some potting mixes can have listeria in them, which is very deadly to humans. So, and if that's the case, you should always wear a mask when you're potting up different plants, whether it's roses or any other plant.
Right.
But the potting mix we're using today has been certified to Australian standards, so
Yep.
therefore we don't have to use the mask.
Okay.
So we just get our trowel. And we put enough potting mix into our pot, and the size of the pot has to be, for this size rose, should be between 25 and 30 centimetres. The bigger the pot, the better the result you'll have in the end.
Really? No, only because my pots at home are the same size, but obviously maybe that's why they're not flourishing.
Oh, right. But for this size rose, it is recommended
Yep.
that you have a pot between 25 and 30 centimetres, and that gives them plenty of room to grow, plenty of air around the roots, and will encourage really good growth. So we keep filling up our pot about halfway. Right. And then at this stage we can mix a good shovelful of fertiliser into your potting mix.
Mm-hmm.
And we also use, it is recommended to use a rose fertiliser for that.
Okay.
Again, it has all the nutrients that they need. So when you first establish your rose, gives it that oomph to get going and to flourish. So just mix that make sure you mix it all the way through.
Yep.
A rose-specific fertiliser is much better than, say, a general fertiliser or dynamic lifter or anything like that. It gives them a much better start in the growing process than the other fertilisers that I mentioned.
I'm just standing here because if you look at your screen, when I move, there's no picture.
Now, the rose has been in this spare-rooted rose has been in the water for probably half a day.
Okay, does it have to be in water?
Well, it's best to put it in a bucket of water for around about half a day, and that really hydrates it. So that gives it a good drink before it goes into the potting mix.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been sucking up the water into the roots and into the plant itself. So it's not dehydrated when it goes into the pot.
Right.
So therefore it gives it a better start by doing that. So we take it out and just shake it off. And at this stage we place it into the potting mix. Just spread the roots out a little bit and hold it with one hand. And then you fill up your pot with the rest of your potting mix all around the edges.
Without the fertiliser. So the fertiliser goes where the roots are.
That's right, yes, without the fertiliser. You don't need any more than that at the moment. Let's move out of the way. Bring this over. No, thank you. So we fill up our pot, making sure that all the roots are covered, but you do not cover the node where the original plant is grafted onto the growing stock. That has to be above your potting mix line, otherwise it can rot, it can catch diseases which can kill your plant. So it's best if that node is above your potting mix level. So we'll keep putting a bit more in. Like this. Then using your hands in like a triangle motion, push down and firm the plant down. Just like that. Right. And there is your rose that has been potted. Now, of course, you have to give it a good water as you have just repotted it up. And for the next few weeks, water probably once a week. As it's winter, it doesn't need as much water as if you did this in summer, because you would have to water it every day because it's quite hotter. But as this is the winter time, once a week at this stage, to keep the growing process.
Is this a climbing rose or is it a freestanding rose?
This is
a shrub rose.
A shrub rose, so it will have multiple flowers on it, and it's not a standard rose, which is just straight, tall, and a flourish at the top. This is a shrub rose which will fill the pot.
Oh.
And yes, and it will be, it gives a number of flowers each year.
And how does it tell you how long before it blooms? Like will it take a year or two before you actually get flowers, or once the sun comes, will it start to?
Right. It will take time for your first flourish of flowers, so you have to be patient. There's no amount of putting it in the sunshine or putting it in a warm room to help it along or anything like
so
that.
You just have to nurture it.
Yes, we just have to be patient with our roses.
Right.
We have to put them out. If you're putting it out in your backyard area, I would put it in a protected area to start with, because as
So
you
it's
have,
not a full sun plant.
no, you have just repotted it,
Right.
so it will need a little bit of nurturing and
Okay.
care taken for the next few weeks.
I'll do my best.
Next few weeks. So put it in a protected area, probably that gets the morning sun. Water it once a week, and then just
Once a week, not every day.
no, once a week, because
Okay.
it's winter.
Yep.
In summer, yeah, as I stated before, in summer, when it's hot, yes, you would have to water it every day. But as this is the winter time,
Yep.
it's best. Today, give it a really good water.
Can I overwater it?
Well, yes, you can. And that will cause root rot and your plant will die.
Right.
So it is best if you just water it at this stage in winter once a week.
Yeah.
And then as the warmer weather comes, well then, as with any other plants that you have in your family daycare service, well then you'll have to water them accordingly. So if you have 4 or 5 days of 40-degree heat, well then you probably have to water them twice a day.
Yeah.
So, it's only common sense from then on. But at the moment, once a week, protected area, and you should have a flourish of flowers probably September, October.
Right.
So
Okay.
at this stage. Have you potted any other roses before,
I have.
Rebecca?
I've potted.
And how are they going?
Well, they're still alive.
Well, that's good.
We don't get flourishes. But when I potted them, I didn't use the fertiliser and I didn't use the gravel.
All right.
So I just used the rose dirt, like the
Potting mix.
potting mix for
Right.
roses.
Mhm.
And they're in a taller plant pot, but around the same size. So,
Yeah. Well,
but I've just pruned them for the first time.
Oh, right.
As last year I didn't know they needed pruning, so I just left them.
Okay. Oh well, we're all learning.
Mhm.
We all learn.
I did have 3 flowers. So
Oh well, that's good then. So
only
they're-
on the one. I've got 2. One never flowered,
right.
just grew more greenery, and the other one flowered 3 roses.
Right.
On the same stem though. One would die, and then another one would grow in the same spot. So
Yeah. Oh well, that's really good. And also a tip for that is that when the flower has died, you can flower debud the rose. So that means pull the dead flower off, and you will get another flower. If you leave the dead flower on there, sometimes you don't get another flower. But you will
well, I
get-
left it there as long as possible because it took me so long to grow it.
So if you if you pull the dead flower bud off,
Yep.
it will stimulate the rose bush to reflower again.
Good to know.
So once you've established it and once it starts growing, probably some fertiliser once every 3 months
Yep.
to keep it flourishing.
Oh, what? Just this?
The
this-
rose fertiliser, yeah.
What? Just mix it in and
Or you just
or do you repot it?
No. You can just put it on top and water it in.
Oh, okay.
At that stage.
Hmm.
Alright? But the dynamic lifter or any other common fertiliser doesn't have the same nutrients that the roses need because they're a very thirsty plant. They
Can you
need,
use rose fertiliser on other plants, or you should?
No, you really should
You got to
use...
buy a fertiliser for each plant.
well, rose, yes you can actually. Rose fertiliser you can use on gardenias.
Right.
But
I've got gardenia. It hasn't flowered yet either. But it's still green.
Oh, well, that's really good. That's really good. Yeah, so with what we've done today, we have learnt to pot a bare-rooted rose into a pot.
Yep.
We've talked about...
So we don't need to put stones on top, only at the bottom.
Only at the bottom. Oh,
Okay.
so, some people do put decorative stones on the top.
Yeah.
That might... I haven't heard of it on roses.
Yep.
But that might keep your soil more damp.
Yep.
And not...
And should I have something at the bottom to hold the water in, or...?
Yeah, you should have your pot onto a nice bowl.
Okay, so it keeps the water.
Yeah, so it keeps the water. So the water, if you overwater your plant, it's good to have a base so that the water can drain away into that. But then you must pick up your pot, drain the water off the saucer, and then put the pot back down, because it can encourage root rot and node rot as well, and your plant will die.
Oh. And when should you prune them?
Pruning should take between July and August in the winter months when they're dormant. And with roses, you can cut them back quite severely. It won't really hurt them.
Right.
You find a growing node, which is this one here, one here. You then cut it on an angle. You cut it above the node on an angle.
Yep.
And that will let the water get in.
Is that a node?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
Normally you'll see there might be a little bit of leaf coming out of one or, or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah, and you cut it above the node on an angle, so then when the water rains, it will, when you water it, that will get into the plant and it will recover quicker than not doing it.
Right.
Because you don't want to kill your plant.
No. It's supposed to be very therapeutic gardening. So I've been told.
So, we've talked about the gravel to use for drainage, not too big gravel, not too little gravel.
Yep.
And you only need to fill it up, say, 2-3 centimetres in the bottom of your plant,
Okay.
bottom of your pot. You don't need to fill the whole pot up with it.
Okay.
Then you mix. You put your potting rose potting mix on top, and you can also mix the rose fertiliser in with that, and that will give your plant a really good start.
Okay.
Then
and keep this bit exposed.
Yeah. Then you have already had your rose in water for about half a day to hydrate it, and that will give it a really good drink.
Yep.
So that it's fully hydrated for when you pot it. Then put it in your pot, and then fill up your pot to the node, the grafted node, but do not let that node be under the potting mix, because it will rot and it will cause diseases for your plant.
Okay.
Yeah, put your potting mix around it. Put your hands around the plant in a triangle shape. Press firmly down so that it's firm. It makes contact with the potting mix.
Yep.
And then give it a good water.
Yep. Okay.
All right. Okay. And I think that's the end of our training session. So how did you find that, Rebecca?
Yeah, very good. I think maybe my plants might live a little bit longer.
Well,
they might flower.
Well, thank you for coming, and I hope that I've been able to impart my knowledge of potting a plant, and this procedure of potting a plant will go for any plant. You can put a little bit of rock in there for any plant that you want to pot up.
Yep.
If you've got a specific plant, buy the specific fertiliser and specific potting mix, because it'll give your plants a really good start in life and have more chance of succeeding and growing than dying. Yeah, but the same principles that we've used to pot our bare-rooted rose, you can use for any plant. The only exception would be if you are potting seeds, or you're using, you have to use seed raising mixture, and you have to have very small plants. So if you're going to, for instance, plant any of like wisteria seeds that you have in your setting, showing the children, you would just use seed raising mixture for that in very small plants.
Small pots to start with.
Small pots to start with. Also, with the children, because of they would need to have gloves, and they also would need to have masks, because even though you're using certified standard potting mixture, it would be another safety precaution with your family daycare service.
Yep.
You really must protect the children at all times. So, okay then, well thank you very much for coming. Please fill out the feedback form before you go.
Yep.
And hand it in, and I hope that you've learned quite a bit about
Roses.
roses.